Many people are calling Polar Patriots the worst Warbond in Helldivers 2 history, but honestly, I really just don't think it is. I think it's pretty on par with what we normally get: a couple mid weapons, a really great weapon, one of the best mobbing grenades in the game, and a very solid sidearm. Also, I think we'll see a couple buffs to those mid weapons as well, and I'll give my thoughts on the mid weapons and one great way to buff them after we show off some of the good stuff inside of this Warbond, and also why I think people are calling this Warbond bad, even though it's really not. Now, before we get into the video, I want to shout out the new channel partner, Instant Gaming. They provide games for much cheaper than what they're listed for. I saw Fallout 76 on there for like 10 bucks, even though it's listed on Steam for 40. You can also enter the monthly giveaway for a game of your choice using the link in the description. So the weapon that is the star of the show in the new Warbond is the Pummeler, and it is an SMG that stuns enemies. And people have said this is less damage and fire rate than the Defender, and they'd rather just kill the enemy than stun them. But honestly, it's only 5 less damage than the Defender. And I've noticed that this really isn't enough damage against most enemies in the game, that it takes more bullets than the Defender to kill them. For example, it still 2 taps Devastators in the head. Any small bot or small bug, you can shoot them in the body and kill them in the same bullets, and probably many more enemies. Now, I'm sure there is some enemies where the Defender would kill it a bullet or 2 faster, but if anything, it might just be the slower fire rate that makes the Pummeler worse damage-wise. However, again, it's not really a noticeable difference in my opinion. And this is coming from someone who's always ranked the Defender very highly on my tier list against bugs and bots. I've even had it in S tier in some tier lists against bugs, even though that is a bit of a hot take. But point being, I really like the Defender, and the Ballistic Shield is one of my highest played builds against bots. So the Pummeler to me is honestly a strict upgrade to the Defender, and it has a really awesome effect. And that major upside is obviously the stagger. So what I think a lot of people were saying for the longest time was the Defender is just the best assault rifle in the game, you know, as a joke, even though it's an SMG. So let's compare the Pummeler to the Liberator Concussive. It's the same damage with just upgraded everything else. And the stagger itself works a bit different too. Instead of pushing enemies back, it works more like a stun. And for example, if you were to dodge a charger's charge, like a Matador who's had way too many close calls in his past, you can then just shoot the back of the charger's leg, doing the same leg glitch that got the Eruptor nerf, and kill it in about half a magazine. And now a note to the devs, don't nerf the Pummeler for this, fix the charger leg armor. Point being, it can stun lock the chargers in place, making it extremely easy to kill them. Now, if they do ever fix the charger leg glitch, you can simply shoot a charger in the ass. However, it does take nearly 2 magazines this way, so you'll actually have to dodge 2 charges. But again, once you get a couple bullets in it, it stun locks it in place, and it's pretty easy to do, and that's pretty solid for a primary weapon, to be honest, because a lot of primary weapons have problems taking down heavier enemies like this. And on the bot side of things, you can do this to Hulks. As soon as you end up putting a couple bullets into their heat sinks, they do get stun locked in place. Now, the other great thing about this weapon against bugs is the one-handed running around, just wildly spraying it back and forth into the giant horde of red dots on your minimap and just stun locking everything so that you can put some distance in between you and the bugs. But again, many people say, what's the point of staggering things if you could just kill them instead? The Defender does more damage. Well, let's combo this SMG with some fire or some gas. Let's apply some damage over time and cook some enemies and make them sit still, like putting a frog in a cold pot of water and then heating it up and he doesn't even realize he's cooking. And what better way to cook enemies than to do this with the incendiary impact grenade that came in the same Warbond. There's literally a combo built into the Warbond itself. And I won't even mention that the Purifier can stun lock things as well, because, you know, we'll get on that later. Now, these incendiary impact grenades are possibly, well, I mean, they probably are just the best mobbing grenade in the game. These also are pretty good against bots. I did a stream yesterday using them all night against the Automaton faction, so I'll link that VOD below for anybody who wants to go watch. But I'll give you guys the cliff notes. They basically kill all small bots and scout striders from just the fire damage over time itself. Now, the benefit of this is using a bit of stealth to start your engagement. For example, if you see a patrol with a group of Devastators Devastators, a couple small bots, and a Hulk. Throw one of these in there, kill all the small bots almost instantly. They don't shoot any flares off. All the Devastators are then weakened, and you can kind of just deal with the Devastators, and then you got to kill the lone Hulk. But the benefit of this is getting no bot drop called off. But in general, it is better against bugs because, you know, fire versus flesh. I don't know. Fire is just better against bugs in general. And I wanted to show off more bug gameplay because of the Pummeler. A lot of people, even when they see the upsides of it, they still just think it's a ballistic shield weapon. But it is actually fantastic against bugs. And in the following clip that the masterful video editor, myself, will have playing is going to be showing me fighting an entire bug breach that followed me and cornered me into a stalker lair. And I didn't take any damage at all because I'm cooking every bug or stunning them with the Pummeler. All right, to be fair, I did take a swipe at the beginning of this clip from the stalker that snuck up to me, but after that, I didn't even take any damage at all. So all I'm saying is the 5 damage and the bit of fire rate I lose compared to the defender isn't felt at all in my opinion, especially when you combine it with the combo that's literally built into the Warbond itself. And now I'd like to just talk about the verdict for a moment. Most people were expecting a deagle, a heavy hitting pistol, probably with some medium armor pen, right? And that's fair. I would also like to see a deagle in the game, but that's not what the verdict is. The verdict is a very solid and reliable sidearm. It has 125 damage, 10 in the magazine, and 8 mag total. This is a lot of damage and ammo built into a sidearm. And while many people are comparing this to a Senator, I couldn't help but notice and compare this gun to the Diligence, a very solid marksman rifle that is fairly outclassed by the counter sniper, but at the same time, it's a very solid weapon. And oh wait, would you look at the damage of the Diligence? It's a 125 damage light penetrating weapon. It turns out the verdict is just a pocket Diligence as a sidearm. It is very, very solid burst of damage when you need it. It has a solid fire rate, reload speed, pullout time, and always remember the classic video game advice. It's always faster to pull out your secondary instead of reloading. And when you need to reload your secondary, it's faster to use your fists instead. That's what Brash would recommend you do. So now let's quickly talk about why most people are calling this a bad Warbond, and I think it has to do with the expectations of this Warbond. You know, when it comes to the Tenderizer, it was advertised as a high caliber assault rifle, which has awesome stopping power, but a limited mag size to compensate. So most people were expecting medium armor pen or maybe some concussing rounds onto this weapon, but instead we got a side grade to the Liberator. And yes, I think it's a side grade. It is not a worse Liberator. The gun does have a little bit less fire rate. It does have a decent amount of less mag size, but it has insane handling and it has no recoil. Against bots in particular, if I wanted to bring a bad assault rifle, like, you know, one of the Liberators, I would pick the Tenderizer over the Liberator every single time because of that handling and recoil. It's much better to get accurate shots on their heads. Now, one quick way I think they could buff this AR without a direct damage stat buff would be to give it more structure damage. Now, what structure damage is basically limb damage. When you shoot a Devastator arm off or a bug leg, each weapon has a hidden structure damage slot, but when you shoot these limbs off, it also deals damage to the main body. And to me, that would be a great way to buff the Tenderizer if it did bonus structure damage against limbs, because that would quite literally tenderize enemies as the name implied. And higher caliber rounds shooting off limbs easier would kind of make sense. And now for the Purifier, which notably the trailer showed it one-shotting Scout Strider. Except the problem is they clearly did this last patch because this gun has the same exact damage as the Plasma Punisher. It does not one-shot Scout Strider. Now the Purifier is honestly, again, an average weapon. It shoots plasma round, which to me means it can't be a bad weapon from my point of view. And while a lot of people disagree, and this gun has been getting flamed by YouTubers, but the thing is, plasma rounds are stronger than all ballistic rounds. This gun is certainly stronger than any sort of Liberator variant, meaning it isn't trash tier, it's just average. But here's the thing, why would I ever pick this over the Plasma Punisher when they both do the same damage? And if I play with the Plasma Punisher a little bit and get the arc down, I can fire off way more plasma bullets much faster and actually kill things. You know, it's not like the Plasma Punisher one-shots anything. It requires multiple hits to kill a lot of enemies. But it's good because both of these guns stagger them and kill them after just a few shots. And this effect isn't as good when you put it on a slow-firing weapon. The Purifier should honestly do enough damage to one-shot Scout Striders at bare minimum, given that that's what was advertised in the trailer. And I think many players would pick this gun as a primary if it did that alone. It would make it unique in the primary slot if it was currently the only weapon that could one-shot Scout Strider. So in my opinion, this Warbond is honestly fine. It just has 2 underwhelming weapons in it, and the one good weapon, the Pummeler, isn't exactly exciting. I was personally excited for the new SMG because I use the Defender a lot. It's the only SMG in the game. I wanted more one-handed weapons, but what I think most people want is a meta assault rifle. We really don't have one of those, and I think what most people also were excited for was a new plasma weapon, especially a marksman rifle variant. But the advertisement, as well as player expectations, didn't really pan out for people to be too excited about this Warbond. I showed off how the advertising kind of made people expect different things, but also players honestly expected a Deagle to be more similar to the Senator rather than being a pocket diligent. But that doesn't make all of these guns trash tier, and it really doesn't make this Warbond bad. And that's honestly just the truth from my point of view. So let me know what you guys think after trying out some of the stuff after you watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.